Hey everyone, I'm with Justin Monroe and Tim Carey, and we're talking about the film Holy Frit. Justin, you're the director, and Tim, you're the subject. I was just mentioning to Justin earlier, I've been meaning to watch this film for a very long time. Because I remember specifically when we reviewed it from Slam Dance, it was like, oh, we never give documentaries tens. And here we go. This is Holy Frit. So tell me about the basic story of the documentary.
Tim, is this you or me?
Your movie, man. I just ran around looking wild, man.
Tim lived it.
I ran around crazy, and he filmed me. But I bet there's more to it from Justin's side.
Yeah, there probably is. So that knucklehead right there you're listening to, he decided to pitch for the biggest stained glass window in the world with a design that he did not know how to pull off if they landed the job. But he wanted to stand out among the 60 companies from around the world. And so he went for it with the design and said, I'll figure that part out later. And of course, they won the bid, the biggest ever commission for stained glass. It's the size of a basketball court, NBA basketball court, if you can sort of get your head around how big the window is. It's really close to that. And so as soon as Tim won the bid, and I was there filming it, that moment where it was official, and they walked out of the building and went, holy crap, which, hence the name. What are we going to do? What the heck are we going to do? And so Tim had to make a decision. What I have designed cannot be replicated in what I know about stained glass. So he went on this crazy hunt for anyone that might have the answer. And he stumbled upon this guy named Narcissus Quagliata, who is a famous glass maestro from Italy, and truly famous. And he found that he was teaching a class to a limited number of people and said, I've got to get into that class, make him fall in love with me and fall in love with the project and save my ass. Teach me what he knows, right? And so that's the premise. And the movie, it's not a real talking heads movie. It's I was in it with them, embedded, as they struggled. They raced time and they tried to figure out how to pull this off.
Can I ask you? Let me ask you a question. I've never asked you this before, Justin.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm taking over your interview here, man.
No problem.
Did Steven Spielberg know how to make the shark when he wrote Jaws? Did he really know exactly how that was going to go?
Well, he didn't make the shark. That wasn't his job. That's
probably the story of a lot of films. People probably
sure.
start films like how I have this idea and we're going to find the right people to figure out how to make it work. I just came up with that analogy.
Speaking of Spielberg, I'll throw Jurassic Park out there too. I mean, he didn't have the technology down, the computer technology. And I believe he was relying on Phil Tippett to do a lot of the stop motion animation, which they ultimately wound up not using because it looked like stop motion animation.
Right.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, I have to ask you. I mean, Lord of the Rings, another great example of not having the technology when you're in. But there's one moment in the film where the client, as you're installing the piece, the client says, "Had we known you didn't know how to do it, we never would have done it." I have to know how did you feel when you heard him say that? At that point?
Well, he would have never known that. I mean, that's the thing. It's like a lot of what you do in stained glass, what you do in all these scenarios is you come up with something and then you oftentimes temper it into using what you do know. So in stained glass, you do designs. Sometimes they're colorful and you tone them down and they become beautiful stained glass windows. They're not the exact same as the design. So that's part of it. I mean, it wouldn't have been nearly as beautiful as it is now, but we would have done something that probably would have been passable. But, for the sake of the bar got raised as soon as I knew what was possible. That's kind of how I thought of it.
Okay, so let's go back to the beginning. According to the press release I got, you two were neighbors for a long time. I mean, who approached whom? How did the project come to be? Because you're literally there at the pitch meeting.
Yeah. When I knew, I mean, as soon as I met Justin, we obviously talk about what our jobs are, and as we were pitching for this job, the thought was we have to stand out somehow. And so I asked Justin, I'm like, you make films, I've seen his stuff and he's really good at it. So can you make a little pitch video for us? That was really it. That's how it started, was him creating a little sales video about Judson Studios and about me, and about, our process. And so I think my thought at that time was, that's it. He's going to make this little video. We're going to try to get the job, and then that'll be that. But he walked into this building, into this, scenario, and was like, what do you like? He kind of started asking questions about the whole thing. And then as he started asking questions, I think it began to click in his mind that this was a story that was unfolding. I mean, who knew how it was going to go? We might not have gotten the job, and that would have been it. It would have been, there wouldn't have been a movie, but we ended up getting it. And then he just kept filming. Really, that's kind of how it started. If I'm not leaving anything out, Justin, maybe.
We mentioned in there, and that little thing you got, I mean, we were sitting around a fire with beers in our hands and feeling good. And he said, and I'm like, of course, I'll come down and do this. But when you step into Judson Studios, I mean, it's crazy. I don't know if are you from LA?
Yes.
Okay. So I don't know if you've ever been there, but it's worth checking out. It's
is it in Pasadena as well, or
it's in Garvanza. So it's just literally like just next door to South Pasadena, on your way to Highland Park, Pasadena Avenue. And it's a historical site. When you step into the old location, you're stepping back into time. And so I walked in there and just felt like consumed with the place and thought, how beautiful is this? I want to film this. I want to know everything about this. And I mean, Tim will tell you that's why he became a stained glass artist. He walked in there and was captivated and said, I'm changing my life. How do I do this? And I did that and went, and then when I heard all of the stories of where they were with the thing, and if they got it, they didn't exactly know what to do. And I said, please let me film this. Please let me film this moment now, because if you do get it, you're going to want this moment. Right. And they said, oh, okay, why not? They didn't think it would be anything. Not that they didn't think they would get the job or not, but they're like, oh, no one's going to want to watch this. And I said, I don't know, man. So that's it. Yeah.
Appreciate the responses. As long as you don't ask us for money.
That's the right. That's the one, right?
Yeah. So okay. So what I admire about Holy Frit is I've had a chance to interview other documentarians who do this, but I'll just use the phrase open-ended doc, because you don't know the direction the story is going to go, and you don't know if you're going to succeed or not. And what were some of the challenges you faced in that? I mean, I mentioned money a bit, but certainly there was an investment of time and resources that you had to put into it.
Oh my goodness. I mean, it was from the moment I started filming, which is November 2014, I filmed for 3.5 years on this thing. And many, many, many days in a row, because I wanted to be embedded and things were changing all that. So, that's one big thing, is just keeping up with everything. And then the editing, of course, when you shoot that much, I shot so much footage, I can't even tell you. It's embarrassing. And so I had to whittle down 1,100 hours into something. But I knew that and then the money challenge, we'd get a little bit, we'd get some done. I have an editor who's used to work with me in LA. He's in New York. So we had remote editing going on. And I had to just sort of little by little get something done, film some more, get something done. I didn't know they were going to make it. I was behind the scenes because it was mostly, I had help, on big days, but the day-to-day stuff I had to sort of do. And it was just hard just to keep my head around it. And I've got my cameras and I'm running around. I don't know what to shoot. But I thought after time, I'm going to settle into their rhythm. They're going to forget about me. And I'm going to hopefully create this thing out of the magic that happens, right? You could film for 6 hours or 8 hours in a day and get 20 minutes of magic. And so the editing.
Are you thinking of story while you're filming?
Yeah. I mean, I knew the one thing is I knew that this had some kind of a 3-act structure to it, because there was the are they going to get it part, and then they got it, and then it was like we have to design it and get agreement, then we have to make it all the crazy in the middle, and then how did it turn out? And then ultimately, because I knew this was Tim's story. Like, to me, that's where I connected. It was the characters. It was him, and can he pull it off? And then how is he and Narcissus going to clash or come together? I thought that was a really beautiful story of how that worked out, you know. And that was that. They were my artwork. They were making their own artwork. They were mine, and I was riveted by them. So I just was there all the time until they forgot about me, and then they did. Yeah. Did I know? Because I knew it had a natural beginning, middle, and end. But because Tim set out saying, I'm never going to change my life anymore. I tried the art thing and it almost consumed me and turned me into something that I didn't like as a gallery artist. And I'm loving where I'm at right now. And he was like, I'm never changing anything. And then here comes this project and Narcissus, and his whole world is turned upside down. And he's left with, oh my gosh, I found myself. I have to do this with every fiber of my being. Now what? And I knew I had to answer the now what, right? Mm-hmm. And so I knew I had to stick around long enough for that.
All right. So Tim, let me ask you, because the thing that struck me with you, Narcissus, was that, you know, Justin's capturing you guys, and I'll say warts and all, you know, there's, I mean, how conscious of you are you about your performance, so to speak, and the same thing with Narcissus, and how open do you think you guys were to disagree? Because there's certainly a lot of clashes between the two of you. You know, how did the cameras play into that? And were you concerned about, you know, in this age, concerned about your image?
Sort of. I guess I kind of was concerned, but you know, it was so much time. I mean, there's so many things that happened, and there was so much that happened in the beginning with the cameras being around that I think we just got used to it to some degree. And we did, like Justin said, we kind of forgot about it at some point, because he made a point to be there during not only the on moments, but the off moments when we're having coffee or when he sort of followed us around everywhere. And I think in this world of reality TV that we're all kind of so used to, you sort of accept that you're going to open up yourself. And I think there were times where he would sit down and talk to us and say, look, you guys, this is what's happening here. This is not, my movie's not about the window. It's about you guys. So, you know, I made a point to call him when things were happening and to get help to bring him in when an important meeting would happen. I learned to pull out my iPhone when necessary, when things were going on. He did such a good job of letting us know what the film was going to be about, that it was kind of like, yeah, you have to decide, am I all in on this? Am I willing to let him in on everything for the sake of telling the story? And, you know, as you kind of learn about me, I tend to speak first and think later a lot. And so I allowed that to just be and trusted him with the editing. And, you know, I never was going to tell him how to edit it, but I really hoped that he would walk the line of me being a jackass with me being, you know, extremely unlikable. And so I don't know, that was his responsibility to make me, to make me palatable, I guess, and I trusted him to do that. And I'm okay with the stuff that came out. Yeah, my car's a mess. I think there's value in sharing parts of your life that are not pretty, that are warts and all. So I have come to sort of embrace that part of it. And I'm not everybody's favorite character in the movie. One guy came up to me, hugging me at the end of one of our screenings, and told me, "Oh, this is amazing! It's so great to meet you. You're my third favorite character." And I'm like, "Oh, thanks." So I think that's okay. And I love the other guys and how they kind of developed, Narcissus and Quentin and David. We all have our role, and I embrace the jackass role.
Yeah. Well, we've been throwing around the word verisimilitude a lot lately. It's just this idea of that authenticity is what's going to appeal to people. Yeah. And I think that's what I appreciate about the film is, yeah, you're not trying to appear, you know, you're not trying to strengthen your brand, but you're just being authentic. And I think that's exactly what you bring across here.
Well, thank you.
In the film.
Yeah, thank you. That word right there is that word was stuck in me. I want to experience this with them, not tell you, hey, this is what I'm feeling and thinking. Like that was my hope is that we could do that. Verisimilitude. I mean, that was it. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Now, was it just you filming, or did you have?
You know, Monday through Friday, a lot of the times it would just be me, or you know, because it's literally just down the street from me, so I could get there in literally a minute and a half. So I did a lot. There was someone that kind of filmed with me off and on day to day down there that would come and sort of join me. He actually, crazy enough, worked at Judson. Great guy, Kyle Mickelson. And whenever he was having off moments, he would help me run a second camera, and so that was great. But on my bigger moments, when we travel to Kansas City, or I just wanted to notch up the production value on some of the interviews or just experience, I would bring in a DP that I've worked with many times over the years. I've done a lot of narrative projects. That's where I come from. This is my first feature documentary. And so, I've got a team of folks that I've worked with, and I called in my guy, my cinematographer, and he was down. He loved it. So he traveled with me, when we'd go to Kansas City and Portland at times.
All right. Well, Tim, let me ask you this. How stressed out do you get watching the movie?
Oh, yeah, I do. That's a good question. I haven't heard that one a lot, but I do get stressed out watching it. I tend to, during the screenings, watch certain parts and walk out during certain parts. So I protect myself a little bit. But yeah, it's weird, man. I do get a little PTSD when I go back to watching that, because I remember exactly what I was feeling in those moments when we're, dealing with the new building and trying to get the floors fixed and it's just, and I remember the expanded version of it. So it's like a triggering thing. I watch it and I go, oh God, yeah, that was wild. But I love it, man. It's like, it's a real honor to have that story about your life kind of documented there that is always going to be around. My kids, it's kind of like it. They'll appreciate it more later in life. I think right now they just kind of get a kick out of it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you built the largest stained glass window ever, and this is your Sistine Chapel. So, it's kind of like, yeah, glad cameras were around. One of the things that struck me in terms of your story, and especially between you and Narcissus, and maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there was a point early on when you only had him roughly part-time. Yeah. And I think there's a point where I think you had to basically say, I'm not following him anymore. I have to lead this project. Is that, am I right in thinking that, or, and then what was it? Because it seemed to be the turnaround in terms of how the momentum of the project was going to go when you just kind of finally let go of Narcissus and said, I'm taking over, basically.
Yeah, I think, it's exactly how it went. The film really tells that story really well, because I was there watching him work day after day and really itching to get in on the process. And he was trying to protect the quality of the project by
the art.
Do it. Yeah. And I was like, like any sort of young apprentice, I was chomping at the bit. I can do this. But then he would leave, and my brazenness would go away, and I'd be like, oh shoot, wait, am I really ready? I don't know. So I would be sort of always hesitant. I would be talking the talk when he's around. I can do it. Then he'd leave, and I'd be kind of like timid about what to do, until a certain point where it was like, I just can't wait anymore. I can't wait for him. And I think that's what he wanted. I think he wanted me to sort of take that step on my own. I think he was purposely kind of in some of those moments laying back and saying, what's he going to do here? And then I did, and I stepped in, and it really did change the momentum of the thing. And then, panel after panel, I started figuring things out, and things started clicking for me. It was really just like it happened in the movie.
Yeah. And then there's a moment where he, just get the sense, well, I mean, he outright says it, that he's passing on his talent, his experience onto you.
And, yeah. He I would have never guessed that was the case. When you're thinking about that guy, and you in the movie, Adam Hamilton says the same thing. The worry is that he's going to come in, take it over, and it's going to be all about him. But he was an absolute, completely willing participant in this transfer of knowledge, and he really was open and humble about doing it. And that was really kind of shocking the whole way through, that at how many times that he just said, look, this is your window, your name's going to be on it. I'm helping you make it happen. I feel that responsibility, but ultimately his value to himself was, I don't want to die with all of these techniques, in my pocket. I want to pass them on. And so he saw me as that conduit. So man, what an incredible thing,
Yeah.
Yeah. And Tim, I'm sorry, I don't want to step on that, but Tim, I think he really respected Tim. He knew that he was new in this, but I think he saw that Tim was a really studied artist, and he had really done so much for as a painter. Narcissus respected that. And I think he thought, okay, if he can get it, he'll bring real art wisdom to it when he gets it, you know? And so I don't think he would have done it as willingly if he didn't believe that Tim had it in him, you know?
Yeah. And it's quite ironic for a guy named Narcissus.
I know.
So
Wow.
we gotta talk about because this has been a movie that has been a long time coming, because we saw it at Slam Dance in 2021. In fact, we Film Threat had our hotel booked, and we had all our travel plans ready to go.
Right.
And then they shut it down. It was Sundance and Slam Dance at the
That's
same
right.
time. What was that experience like? Because I assume you were prepared to be in Utah.
I wanted to be there. Of course you want to be there. So it was heartbreaking. I mean, I had to sort of like feel that moment for, you know, a bit, and okay, we're not going, but what an honor. Okay. We're in Slam Dance. And then what I came to realize was that it, as amazing as it would be to be there, and I still wish, I hope to go back there, you know, with another film. It allowed a lot more people to see it than would have been able to do it if they had to travel there. And that was really encouraging, because it just opened it up to a big audience. And it was really neat to see those numbers, man. And so I began to embrace the, like, okay, maybe this will be good for our film. But after a while, you know, there's only so many Zoom, you know, Q&As and things that you know, because you just want to be there. You make a movie, you want to be with the audience. You want to see the reaction. And so it was you know, I was torn, grateful and torn. And it was a while before we started attending real festivals. I think Florida, as you can imagine, was our first actually in-person festival, which is about our fourth festival, I think, I want to say, something like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean, what was it like getting from there to today? Because we're talking about 2 years later. Roughly 2 years later.
Well, you know, I don't know what you heard through the grapevine.
I have not heard anything. So.
Well, no. I mean, not just about us, but I'm just thinking about, like, everyone was saying, oh, this could be really good for your movie. Of course, everyone's tragedy is happening and all this really difficult stuff.
Everyone's trying to find the bright side.
They were trying to find, this could be very good. And I've learned enough in life where I'm kind of like, okay, let's see what happens, you know, because this business does not come without challenges and hurdles and disappointments and having to overcome things. So I stepped back and went, maybe, interesting, maybe, we'll see. And it, you know, we had a great festival run, but of course we know, because of the loss of, you know, money, you know, in the industry and just all of the things, everyone pulled back. I mean, all of the platforms pulled back, and obviously theaters, you know, they just were obliterated. And so financial crisis set in, and everyone said, I don't know what we can buy, what we can't buy. We're all watching Netflix. We were all watching our TVs, which was great, but that was stuff that was already done and sold before that. And hardly anything was getting purchased, you know, comparatively. And so it ended up being not helpful to our film because of that. And so we struggled, and eventually Rocco found us, Rocco Films, and they were so encouraging and so in love. And they're like, we believe in this thing, and we're going to kick down the doors with you, anything we can do. And so they worked it and they pitched it, and we had some back and forth and some challenges. And eventually they're like, you know what, we need to break the door down ourselves. And so they brought Abramarama on, and they have infused this thing together with a lot of energy that we hope for. And they're the ones that are like sending us out now. So it was a struggle. It was a multiple year struggle of ups and downs. And we were in the festival circuit for 2 years. So, you know, that's what we did along the way.
We also really, the cool thing about this film is it's got an amazing grassroots backing from the glass world. You know, people, I think that really helped us to not give up on it through all of this, that we had so many people who told us how much they loved it and how much the experience of watching it changed them. And the glass world, sort of like these people like me who are kind of in the shadows, we tend to not get put out there in these mainstream ways. So we have a really, really a fervent group of supporters who got us kind of like kept us going, and then supported us in our Indiegogo campaign to raise the money to do this theatrical release. So we have a big team. It's pretty exciting knowing that we have this group of people who's not willing to let us give up on this film. So it helps when you're doing something that's got a lot of support.
Yeah. Thank you, Tim. Of course, that has been just incredible to experience them and their support. Yeah.
I mean, I'll say you're not alone. I mean, I've been attending festivals here and there, and distribution right now is the challenge for everybody.
Yeah.
It's quite frankly, it's easy now to make your movie. It's hard to get it.
Yeah.
To get people to see it, to get in the hands of people, to get in theaters or on streaming, and and I think you're an example of one of the pieces of having a group to back the project. And in this case, it's the Glass World. You sort of just need that, to show that there is interest in it, and that's, to me, that's right now distribution is the puzzle piece that has to be solved.
Yeah, it sure is. Boy, we are in the Wild West, aren't we? I mean, what is going on with this business? It's wild.
Yeah.
And we are grateful for their support, and we're grateful for Rocco and Abramarama, because they've really embraced it. It's not just your typical, like, we did one part of the fundraising campaign, but they are thrown in themselves truly into it, and are really, hoping for its success and doing what they can. It's not just, they're not just work for hire. I mean, they are truly invested, and their team is fantastic, both them and Rocco. So we're grateful. We feel we're in good hands finally, right? It's just the struggles, and it's like, man, we're encouraged. So
I would like to get Taylor Swift involved somehow.
Well, that's the next thing, is she's filling up our theaters, even though. Even though.
Talk about a crazy. She's taking away all the movie theaters. She's taking up all the airways on NFL games. I don't know what this world is that we're living in.
But the thing is, she's bypassing a lot of people and getting her movie directly into the theaters, which quite frankly is, that may be the game changer for indie filmmakers.
Yeah, man, she is smart. Oh my goodness, what a career! Like, man, what a career!
All right, let me ask you this one last question, Justin. So you have a friend who's going to attempt to do one of these open-ended documentaries. What is the biggest lesson you learned in this one that you could pass on to the next generation
of filmmakers? I mean, look,
what's the thing what's the piece of advice you would give that someone wouldn't necessarily think about when taking on a project like this?
Look, man, if anybody is truly into this business, they understand that it's difficult, right? There's lots of ups and downs, but it is your passion that beckons you past all of those things. That mows over every wall. And so, other filmmakers out there, they get it and they love it and they make great things. I would say, in making scripted projects, where you have a roadmap versus making documentaries now, man, we have never been in a better time to grab a camera. If there's a story literally on your doorstep that came to mind, it came to my porch, we can do it. And I shot so much of this film, and it looks amazing on screen with an iPhone. It allows intimacy. There's no reason you can't make a movie, man. And you just, I have a phrase, and I hope this is okay. I learned it years ago. I call it the royal fuck it. And really what it means is you have to say that on an ultimate scale with yourself. And hopefully, your wife will support you along the way, which she has. But I would just say, if you have the passion, there are stories right next door. There is no reason why you can't do it. And I mean, just for a few bucks, I was able to start. I mean, really, a few bucks. Now, you got to get money along the way and do the, do the post production. But it's amazing the opportunity we have to just start. And what a privilege, what a pleasure to be able to make stories that people come to. And I just hope to keep doing this. Thank you for watching. Thank you for having us.
So Yeah, I have to then ask you, if you filmed a lot of this on your iPhone, what percentage of that footage is in the film?
Yeah, I would say. I mean, I shot this on like probably 7 different types of cameras, from Red cams to Sony cams to Canon cams. I'd say I'd be willing to bet there's what you think it's 15-20% of this film, Tim, is iPhone.
15-20%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So yeah, anyone can. All right. Well, thank you very much. Holy Frit is coming to New York and LA, and hopefully in more theaters beyond that, but definitely on VOD, and you got to watch it in 4K. So
Yeah, real quick, we're doing a whole U.S. tour. I mean, we have 12 cities now, but I think the idea is to be all over the United States for a while, and then it'll hit the streamers. So, yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Thank you, Tim, and thank you, Justin.
Thanks, sir, very much.
Thanks so much. That was fun. Great chatting with you.